So you've been offered a promotion. This is fantastic news. Let's start with that. However, however, there's more to the story, and I'm going to get to that. But for now, congratulations on your offer. I fully expect that you're going to accept this promotion. It's unheard of in general for people to turn down promotions. It's more money, better title, more status and decision-making authority. And if it's a team leadership opportunity, especially, those roles don't come along all the time. Embrace that challenge. Use this as an opportunity to learn and grow and stretch yourself. However, there's a promotion trap, and that's what I want to talk about today. As you climb the ladder, it narrows. The higher you climb, the fewer jobs are available. And the higher you climb, those few jobs that are available, a lot of them are not getting posted. Now, that doesn't impact you when things are going well, when you're thriving in your current organization. That's not your concern. When the market turns and you lose your job and you find yourself unemployed, especially in these last couple of years, the more senior you are, the more challenging you're going to find your job search to be. Very few jobs, a lot of layoffs, a lot of competition competing for that limited number of jobs. And so your first thought is, well, I see a lot of jobs that are just one level below where I've been for a while. Why don't I just take a step back? And that's everybody looks into that. Everybody tries. It's not that easy. There are serious challenges and obstacles, structural constraints there. It starts with the hiring manager. The hiring manager is going to look at your resume and they're going to say, why would I hire my replacement? I'm doing well here. I know we want to fill a role that reports into me, but why would I hire somebody who's as qualified or possibly more qualified than me? There's no percentage in that. So a lot of hiring managers, not all, but a lot of hiring managers are going to not even want to talk to you. You'll probably have some nice conversations with recruiters, and they're excited and they're enthusiastic. But the second they get your resume in front of the hiring manager, they're going to be like, I don't need a person this senior. I'd prefer to have somebody who's not this senior. They don't want to get replaced. They may not trust that you're going to be happy taking a step back or that it's genuine. They may not believe that you're going to stick around because you've had senior roles before. The moment you're offered a senior role, you're going to jump ship. And then it was all, a wasted investment of time. So there's a lot of reasons that taking a step down is hard to accomplish convincingly to help the hiring manager make them think, that you're serious about, I really prefer a smaller role and less money. That's hard to convince people of a lot of the time. So then what happens is in a tough job market, it's already going to take you some time to find a role, but the roles at the level you're at now are few and far between, and it's really hard to take that step down. So that leaves you in a situation where your career volatility is quite high. The earnings amplitude over time of like very large earnings, and then if you lose your job, very low earnings. And it's hard to find that safety net job, at least for full-time jobs. It's hard. It's hard to land that. And so the other thing is, as that career ladder, as you climb, it gets narrower, so fewer opportunities, but you become more expensive. And so you become more vulnerable to the vicissitudes of the markets, or sort of the things that are completely outside of your control. the financial position of your company, general market dynamics, etc. And when companies are looking to cut costs, you look like a ripe target for meaningful cost savings, given that, over the course of several years, you now make twice as much as you used to after one or two promotions. That's going to make them look with a lot of scrutiny at the value you're bringing. So there's several challenges here. I want to make it clear that I'm pro growth. I'm not against ambition. I've led 4 teams. I've built 2 teams from scratch. This is what I try to do. I used to build software and statistical models, machine learning, and in the more recent phase, the leadership phase, for the last decade, I've built teams, and it's even more gratifying to help other data scientists and professionals really hone their craft and to mentor them and grow them into just incredibly high-powered, impactful colleagues. I'm not saying don't take the promotion. I'm saying keep your eyes open. Be aware that there are trade-offs, that in exchange for greater compensation, you're signing up for an increased probability of unemployment at times and possibly prolonged unemployment. And that's where that premium you get when you take the bigger job, you should work towards saving for a rainy day, preparing yourself to have plenty of savings to ride out the gap. It's an unavoidable thing for most senior leaders that they're going to have significant time away from full-time work. Another thing to keep in mind is the liquidity of your resume and your body of work. If you think about in terms of liquidity, as you rise in the ranks, as you climb the corporate ladder, you become more valuable. But at the same time, that value becomes less liquid for the reasons I was just describing. If you have a home and you want to sell it, you might take a massive loss if you sell it in a down market. But you will eventually find a price that it will clear at, and you can get maybe 80%, maybe 70% of its value. That's if you're really desperate and you just have to get some value out of it. In your career, though, you may not have any offers at any price. The probability that you go without any offers and have to sit on the sidelines as a senior, if you have a very senior resume and track record, that's something real, and that could prolong your unemployment. You can try to supplement that and kind of ride out those stretches with contract roles or consulting, but getting a full-time role is often going to take quite a while. And back in the day, they used to say it would take 1 month for every $10,000 of salary for your estimating the length of your expected duration of your job search. And that's kind of crazy if you're at the senior level, if you translated that literally, which I think it's not a perfect rule, but it's one of those heuristics. You maybe at a senior level, it's for every 20,000 that you made, expect to do a job search that lasts 1 month per $20,000. Long story short, the longer you're unemployed, the more there's going to be hesitation for recruiters to reach out to you, because they're going to start to wonder, are you still serious about rejoining the workforce? Are you losing touch and failing to stay current with the technologies? And they assume maybe your productivity will suffer. You're going to get less of that in the first year that you're unemployed. But if you get beyond that first year into year 2, and in some cases in a really tough market, even beyond, it can be extremely challenging to overcome that. And that's going to filter out a lot of the opportunities that otherwise might have wanted to talk to you, just on the basis of recency, how long it's been since you were gainfully employed and thriving in a leadership role. So this has been very negative so far. I want to acknowledge that this sounds very negative. However, in good markets, opportunities abound. When you're employed, or even when you're unemployed in a strong market, you will get a new job very, very quickly. The challenges, the risks that I'm talking about really come into play with a market like we have right now in the last couple of years, where you don't have strength in the job market. You've got layoffs all the time, just increasing that pool of talent that you're competing against. So that's where there's a real this is the challenging period. That's kind of the point here. But all that aside, leadership is one of the things. Leading teams, building teams. For me, that's where the juice is. That is the best, sort of most gratifying part of my career. And so I am not discouraging anybody from taking a promotion, for taking the next step. But I want people to know that they should keep their eyes open, that they should keep their options open. A critical thing to do is always be upskilling, always stay hands-on to some extent. Part of the cost of doing leadership is that you reallocate a decent proportion of your time to the administrative and management side, away from your original craft and the skills that you cultivated that made you have such a successful career, that you were appealing as a leader of a team. You have to work to ensure that you're always staying at least somewhat hands-on, and that you're keeping current with all technical aspects of the job that you're building. In the era of AI, it's easier to do that than ever. You fire up Claude Code and really make things happen and keep up with your team members. So those are important things to do. I want you to take away from this, climb, grow, learn, take on challenges. But I wanted to let you know there's more volatility to your career when you go down the path towards leadership and climbing the ladder. And that's just something you need to do with your eyes open. And that's always everything in life, facing reality head on, dealing with things as they are, rather than putting our head in the sand. That's just a good way to live your life. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.